Hi everybody, let's give a layout update on, let's talk about Cedar Heights Clay in Oak Hill, where I'm at on that. Not done, but I can share a lot of it with you. This was Cedar Heights Clay in 1947. It's actually still pretty recognizable, and they still use that house as an office. But the profile is still pretty much the same now. They've just added on and expanded quite a bit. Now, I've shown you this picture several times. This is the most recognizable part of Cedar Heights Clay. You can see where they've got these like false fronts. There's three of those. You can only see two of them in this picture. And the big sign. Unfortunately, the sign is now a ghost sign. Cedar Heights is owned by a company called Resco, and that's all been painted over. You can barely see where it used to be. But you can see they did a lot of business on with bagged clay as well as shipping out clay and covered hoppers. So they were a producer. They didn't get any products in. They shipped everything out. So they got empty boxcars and empty covered hoppers and shipped clay out. And this picture is taken in 1984. So this is Cedar Heights Clay today. We were just looking this way, and the railroad tracks came in. The engine was pushing the boxcars in this way. So these are I guess you'd say the false front. So it's a pretty big facility. Looks like it's been added on to many, many times over the years. This is the office, the house that I showed you in the original picture. 1947 is up here at the top. So obviously, if I modeled these buildings here, I wouldn't be able to uncouple cars. I couldn't even see the loading docks or anything. So I am modeling this, and I'm taking sort of an innovative approach. Now, I believe these buildings here are actually newer anyhow, so maybe I'm modeling it the way it was in the 50s or 60s. I'm not sure, but I'm not going to model these buildings over here. So let me show you where I'm at right now. So before I show you my model, these are a couple of pictures I took on that same trip in 1987. I want you to notice now this is a bigger covered hopper than like the 30 or the 70-ton covered hoppers were. It's probably a little bit taller. Notice there's hardly any clearance up here. I mean, there's no way you could walk on top of that covered hopper to open the hatches. Now, looking at it from the other end, of course, I was there on like a Sunday and the place was closed. Looks like there's a little bit more clearance. But in both cases, I can't really see the loading mechanism. You can barely see like a shadow here, and then you can see the silhouette there. So I'm going to sort of treat this as like if you buy a Walters grain elevator, for example. You push the cars underneath the grain elevator, but you don't see the dumping mechanism, how they actually load the cars. So without any more information, I'm not going to try to model that loading mechanism. Basically, when it's underneath the awning, it's being loaded. If I go back there sometime, now they still load out of this, but they just load trucks. So I don't know if that same mechanism is there or not. Of course, there's a whole lot more clearance because a truck isn't as tall as a railroad car. Picture I've seen, they've got a ladder leaning against the side of the truck, and they climb up on top of the truck, and then they, I guess, open the hatch or whatever. But whether they still use this type of mechanism, and I don't know whether they rolled the cars forward or if it like moved from hatch to hatch, I have no idea. So right now, I'm just going to be content with just putting them under the awning and saying that's where the loading mechanism is. Also, what you notice, there's no ballast in here. I mean, there is, but it's covered up by clay. And it looks to me, like I talked about, do they move the cars? These look like rubber tire tracks. I would almost bet that they are using like some type of loader to push the car back and forth to load it to the different spouts. Because otherwise there'd be no reason for anything to be driving on there. There's the loading doors. Notice the weathering going down there. And so anyhow, I just sort of tried to capture the flavor of it. So you'll see my model next. All right, here's my model. My brother-in-law is working on the sign. Photography is his hobby, mainly wildlife. He loves to photograph birds and things, but he is working on trying to use a couple of the pictures I have to Photoshop the big Cedar Heights sign that goes across here, and that'll really make it. If he can get that, that'll really make it. As you can see, I can only model 2 of the 3 bays. Now I may, when you look at pictures of it from like, there's other stuff that sticks up back here, so I may sort of make a, not really a flat against the backdrop. I've got, half an inch there or something like that, but maybe actually make another thing sticks up even taller back behind this part of the building. Haven't decided on that yet. Okay, so you're probably thinking, Tom, how you gonna uncouple the cars? So let me show you what I did. First of all, I'll demonstrate how I'm going to uncouple the cars, and then I will show you how I did what I did. So if I'm going to uncouple the cars, I'm just going to take the loading dock off and uncouple the cars, and I can put the loading dock back on. So that styrene strip there actually helps me locate the loading dock. The reason why that's there. Show you how it works. So here's how it works. So basically, all this is made out of evergreen styrene. It's completely scratch built. I can't think of any commercial things I used. I think these little windows up here were maybe out of an old Rick's kit or something, but besides that, everything is just cut by hand. So I actually have some metal, trying to get behind the camera, metal rods super glued onto the edge of the loading dock. Let me unzoom. Maybe it'll make it easier for me to show you stuff. Okay, so the building itself has magnets inside it. And there's one. I've got 3 magnets up here epoxied into the building. And you can see my construction here. It's just evergreen styrene. It's plain styrene, and I'll talk about the concrete block here in a minute. Now you may be wondering what this is for. I was a little worried about when I pulled the dock off, the building moving. So what I did was I buried 2 magnets. I'll just pick up the whole tripod. You can see it there. I buried 2 magnets in the foam, and that holds the building in place. Now these nails right here locate the corners. They are epoxied into place. So I put the building like that. Make sure to push it back all the way. The loading dock isn't fast in place right now. So then, I should rarely need to move the building. But I am going to add lights. I am going to add interior to this right here. It may just be nothing more than like a picture, but I'm going to add a light in there to make it look like, there is an interior in there. And I need about 1 million pallets to go on this loading dock. So again, I won't have to move the building very often. Now that I've got this all located, I can ballast the track. Well, I'm not really going to ballast the track. I'm going to make it look like you saw in the pictures. And I can, finish the scenery around here. I do want to talk about one thing that's kind of unusual, because I've seen some other pictures back when this got railroad service. So you notice these doors, I spaced them for 40-foot boxcars, and there are 5 of them. So I spaced them for 40-foot boxcars. If you've got boxcars like in the 80s, which were more than 40 feet most of the time, only one of them would line up. These wouldn't line up. So sometimes they would uncouple the cars. Actually, I have a picture where they're using the second door there, and So they're using a boxcar here at that door, and then they're using the loading dock, the outside loading dock, to load another boxcar. So there's a space in between them. So, you know, they could load up to 5 boxcars here if they're 40-foot boxcars. If they're 50-foot boxcars, they can really get only 3. But then the covered hoppers, you know, could be back here. There's a really cool picture on historic aerials, but I don't feel like, you know, they copyright their pictures and put watermarks on them, and I don't think I should put it on a video, so I'm not going to. I have bought pictures from them before, but I didn't buy that picture, so I'm not going to put that picture on in my video. I don't think it'd be right. So anyhow, that's Cedar Heights. I still need to add a lot of details. You know, I'm going to add like some over, you know, like a light over these doors. Actually, the building itself has a man door here and here, and I never noticed it in photographs because the whole thing is just painted white. And that one picture I showed you is a black and white photo. It just really blends in. The only reason I noticed it is because they've taken the door out and they've got concrete block that's unpainted right there. When I looked at the modern picture, I thought, what in the heck did they do there? Well, they took the door out, so then I started looking at the pictures I had really closely, and yeah, there was a man door there. Whether I tried to cut that in or not, I don't know. I might, but you know, sometimes you just need to know when to stop, and I'm afraid I'll mess it up. And you know, right now I think it looks pretty good. Notice that this door over here is a lot bigger than this door. So actually I could drive a truck in there, but this one, you know, that's the way it is in real life too. All right, let me show you how I laminated the concrete block onto the styrene. Talk a little bit more how I built it. As you can see, I don't always film my videos all in one take. Actually, I filmed something and I went back and watched it, didn't like it. But in the meantime, I had been working, so I've actually already started ballasting. Well, not ballasting, claying the spur back there. Also ballasted the passing siding in Oak Hill and the diamond too. So I've been busy. So I built Oak Hill basically, I think it's mostly 040 styrene. I wouldn't use 020. This is actually some scribe siding that I just picked up the scrap of. I just use plain old evergreen styrene. This concrete block sheet, you get 2 sheets like this from N-Scale Architecture. It's about 25 bucks. It's not cheap, but I built that whole building and still have a big scrap left, and I haven't even touched this second sheet. So I would build the building, you know, like a box at a time. I built the, you know, this part first, and then I would sheet it in this. So I cut out all the doors, windows, all that in the 040 styrene, and I would just glue this right on top of it. So I use a stuff called canopy glue, and it's made by Evergreen. I found it, I think, at Michael's, or it wasn't at the hobby shop. But it says, excellent adhesion of plastic materials, dries clear and flexible, ideal for gluing plastic to plastic, painted surfaces, wood, fiberglass, or other plastics. The good part about this is, unlike super glue or the Plastrex stuff, it doesn't grab immediately. So when I line the sheets up, I can sort of slide it around and get it all lined up, and then you just let it dry. Now it will take, you know, I would let it dry overnight usually before I touched it, because it does take, it says fully cured in 24 hours, but I usually didn't wait 24 hours. And then I would just, you could see, this stuff is pretty thin, you can see through it, so I could see where my windows and doors were, so I could just cut them out and clean them up with the file and everything. So it worked really well. This is really good stuff. I've got a brick sheet from them too, which I'm going to use for the brick warehouse and the my fire brick. Now, by the way, I've been calling it Davis Fire Brick, Davis Fire Brick, Davis Fire Brick, because the Davis family owned it. There actually was a Davis Fire Brick, but the place I'm modeling is called Ohio Fire Brick. So I was sort of confused on that. The Davis family built it, owned it, you know, in their entire life, but it's Ohio fire brick is what I'm actually modeling. So that's about it for now. I said I'm going to post this on maybe Thursday evening, probably Friday morning. I'll post 2 operations videos, Saturday and Sunday. Chalk out the Oak Hill and switching Cedar Heights Clay. Now, I didn't have all this work done on Cedar Heights Clay at that point. So when I post part 3 next week, that's when you'll see the loading, the canopy and all that, removable canopy in part 3. But I'm already done switching to Cedar Heights at that point. You'll just see it in the background. Anyhow, so I think that's about it for now. New Year's Eve's coming up. It's always a fun time, but it's also a very dangerous time if you're out on the road. So please, please, I always say be safe. And it's not just like a catchphrase. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there right now that's not only COVID, but drunk driving, and gosh, with the tornadoes and now they've got wildfires in Colorado that's destroyed a bunch of homes, and it's like we've got some crazy weather and some other stuff going on. So please be safe, so we can enjoy 2022, and you can see my progress on Oak Hill.